Hi, everyone, and welcome again to Welcome Change, our Wednesday news hour where we hear from social entrepreneurs and their teams from around the world about timely topics and solutions. My name is Anae Berishel, and I'm the Associate Lead for Ashoka's work in Tech and Humanity. I'm calling in today from Amsterdam, and I'm really thrilled to be speaking with Aji today, Septiaji Nugroho, about his work in Indonesia. And I'm even more thrilled to see many of you joining today from Ashoka's global community and from Mafindo's community. So today for the next 30 minutes, we'll be hearing from Septiaji Nugroho, also known as Aji, about tackling hoaxes and restoring trust in Indonesia. Now, obviously, this is a topic that is relevant to all of us around the world, and so we're looking to glean some lessons from Aji and his team's work. But before we get started, just a couple of points of housekeeping. First, we really love hearing from you. So as we move along, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. And secondly, if you want to see subtitles, you can just click on closed captions at the bottom of your screen. So let's jump right in. Aji, you co-founded Mafindo in 2016 to tackle the rise of misinformation and also the violence that ensued after Indonesia's 2014 elections. Can you paint a picture for us of what was happening at the time, for those of us who aren't familiar, and also what made you do something about it?
Hi, Hanai. Thank you very much for having me. And also hi to everybody that watched this session. I'm very honored, to be here to present my work to you, especially for Ashoka's partners, members. And what I would like to say is that, Mafindo is actually starting from a few people that have like a restless situations during the 2014 presidential elections that divide already our country. And then at the time, many disinformations had speech that divide us further. And then what we do is that basically we see that the trust is almost lost in many fronts. Mm-hmm. So that some people try to stand up, and what we think is that it is better to light a candle rather than to curse the darkness. So that's why we start doing fact checking from very small communities, starting from 10 people, and then we start growing in the Facebook groups, and then it was growing and then growing and then growing to thousands, and then finally other partners, medias, governments, and even platforms start to recognize the importance of our work, and then our collaboration start with them, and then now we are now having like organizations that spread into 27 cities with more than 500 volunteers, and then it happens in a country that trust is actually the most treasure that we have to maintain, because Indonesia is a quite large country, is a very diverse country. We have more than 700 local languages, so we have so many differences in ourselves. So trust is exceptionally very important, for us. Mm-hmm. So misinformations, disinformations, hate speech, if we don't deal it seriously, I think it is going to threat directly to our peace and our unity. So mm-hmm. I think this is the way that we start our work from very small, and we actually never think that our community will reach many other cities and many hundreds of volunteers. But I think because we believe that if we do a good things, a lot of other people with a good faith will also join us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is particularly, I mean, it's relevant everywhere, but in the context where Indonesia is the third largest democracy in the world, it's home to one of the biggest populations of internet users in the world as well, then you start seeing why this is so important, why restoring trust is so important. Before we move on from the context, I just want to ask one other question, which is, you know, we hear the words fake news, hoax on a daily basis at this point, right? And some people might start to get desensitized to it, you know, not really understanding what this really means for us anymore. And so I would love for you to give us an example of a hoax that was particularly damaging in Indonesia so that we can really feel why this matters so much.
Yeah, I think you are right that misinformation, we cannot see it only about numbers. Yeah, although Indonesia numbers of misinformation is quite high. For example, during the pandemic COVID-19, we already ranked number 5 in the world that has the most spread conspiracy theories, rumor, and stigma. But I think the damage of the misinformation is actually the impact of the misinformation is the thing that we have to be very, very careful. For example, provocations and also misinformations already started the conflict. For example, in a part in East Indonesia during 1999, in the eve of the internet, provocations already can create a war between 2 different camps. So, and during the elections, the misinformations can also provocate people to create like large demonstrations to reject the elections results. And also we saw some riots in Jakarta after the electoral body finalized the result of the elections, because the people, they don't trust the electoral body, they don't trust the elections. So I think misinformations can cause crisis, yeah, to our constitutional. And also if we speak on for example, in pandemic COVID-19 issues, it is very serious, because misinformations that we call it infodemic already create some people that reject vaccinations. For example, at the beginning of the vaccinations programs, we saw about 29% people that don't want to be vaccinated. When we asked them why, because I got the information, if I get these vaccinations, and then the next 2 years we are going to die together. And there is also kind of rumors that said that the vaccine is not halal, yeah, because in Indonesia majority are Muslims, so that they reject because the issues that the vaccines are not halal. So some issues, like when people, they don't trust the health authorities, they for example, they when the family being treated in the hospital, they don't trust the doctors, and they forced to take their family away from the hospital, even though actually the hospital said the patient died because of COVID-19. Yeah, so several hospitals already be broken by those families that they trust to the conspiracy theories rather than the experts there. So I think the impact of the misinformation is very serious, and especially when the misinformation is related to ethnic issues and also religious issues, it is going to be very, very dangerous, especially when we see Indonesia as a country with a very diverse populations. We have 5 or 6 biggest religions in already there in Indonesia, and yeah, a lot of people with different ethnicities. So misinformation is going to make the trust away. So this is very, very, very important thing, especially the next 2 years, we are going to have the biggest elections in our time, because it is going to combine the local and also national elections. So the misinformation is, if not dealt correctly, is going to shape our future, if something like that.
Mm-hmm. Can you, now that we have this context, what does Mafindo do about this? I know you have actually 3 organizations that you've created to respond exactly to this challenge that we're all facing. Mafindo, Check Facta, and Turn Back Hoax. What do you do when there is a big disinformation campaign, for example, about COVID-19? How do you deploy your network?
Yeah, well, we start with mind of comprehensive framework. I mean, firstly, we start with fact checking. So every wrong information that being reported to us, and then we check them, and then if we got the verification, and then we publish in our platform. So our platform is turnbackhoax.id, and then we publish it on our social media as well. And we also have collaborations with local and also national radios to spread those clarifications. This is one thing. And the second one is that we also have a lot of activities on educations, because we believe that education is a kind of long-term solutions if we want to make sure that our next generations will be quite free from misinformations. So we start creating curriculum, and also we train our volunteers across the nations, and then they go to the schools, and then they go to the church, to the mosque, and then they teach about the digital literacy, about anti-hoax techniques, on how to fact check pictures, how to verify videos, and on how to make sure that when they got information from WhatsApp group, they cannot be easily false by those misinformations. And the next one is that we start making great collaborations. For example, since 2018, we start checkfacta.com. It is a collaboration between Mafindo and also now 27 online medias in Indonesia. It is actually inspired by cross-check initiative in France during 2017 presidential elections. So with the help of Google, so Google helped us to bring the organizations to work, and then finally we came up with the checkfacta.com. But it is a kind of long-term collaboration. So it is not like dealing only with the elections, but also we fight the COVID-19 misinformations. We fight when there is a kind of disaster misinformations. So this is a kind of long-term, even though this collaboration is going to face the biggest challenge up to now is the election 2024. And the next one is that we believe that to combat misinformations, trust building is very, very important. So that we try to make a initiative how to build trust between, for example, people and media. So we invest heavily on how to create a media literacy curriculum. On the other hand, we also make advocacy to the regulators so that the media can be much more trustworthy, so that they will avoid to use clickbait and something like that. So this is a kind of two-way approach that we believe important, to build in order to make a trust building. And I think the last one is that we try to make sure that to advocate the curriculum of digital literacy and also critical thinking is going to be included in the national curriculum, because I think if we see the success story of Finland, for example, or in Japan, I think they have a good example on how to prepare the students on how to face misinformation as early as possible.
So what are maybe 3 tips that you could share with all of us, whether it's for my niece, my grandmother, myself, for how to recognize and respond when we see misinformation or hoax online?
Oh, Yeah, I think the first one is don't be emotional. If you see any title, any emotional title, sometimes we are very easy to be misled, by those kind of informations that use very antagonizing titles. So checking titles, I think one of the most important things. Just even before we fact check to our fact checking platform, even before googling something, uh, evaluating our emotional state after reading the title of the content is very important. And then the second one is check the source. So because most of us now consuming information from social media, so most of them are coming without a proper source. Sometimes they will try to combine between factual informations combined with false information. So we have to be careful, so that we have to make sure that if you choose to receive information from social media, it is our responsibility to check the source. So it's different if we get the information from the media, because the media, they've done their job, to verify the source of the information. So, and the third one is that fact check this, because we have already supplied you with a lot of way to fact check the information. Mafindo already create turnbackhoax.id. We also create a chatbot on WhatsApp, so people can have our number and then they send the question to our number. It will respond anytime, because we have already automatic chatbot. It is, I think, the second collaboration with WhatsApp after India. So a lot of people, even though the elderly people, they like to use this chatbot, rather than to browse into our websites. So those are three main things for people to make sure that they don't be deceived easily by those misinformations.
Thanks, Haji. I think sometimes we forget that there are very practical things that we can all do. And so I wanted to make sure that you shared a few of those things with us. I want to go back to something that you said a few moments ago about the fact that in 2024, Indonesia's elections are going to be both local and national at the same time for the first time. And when we spoke before this live conversation, you said this was significant because usually what we see is that misinformation campaigns tend to focus on national issues, not so much on local issues. You anticipate that this is going to mean that misinformation will also spread to local election issues. And I'd love to hear how you're preparing for this. You've mentioned to me before the difference between debunking and pre-bunking. So tell us what you're planning in preparing.
Yes, Hanai. Yes, if we compare the national elections in 2019 and the simultaneous regional election in 2020, we saw quite a few misinformations during the local elections during 2020. So because it is a quite a spared elections, but now since we have in a single time, this is the first time Indonesia held the national and local elections in a single time. So it is very big chance that the misinformations is going to resonate each other. So from national to local to national. So it is quite a big risk, if we don't prepare for that. So the approach that we do before the 2024 elections is going to be much different than when we prepare for the 2019 elections. Fortunately, this day we already have a quite good partner. We already have a multi-stakeholder forum. So it is not only fact-checker organizations only, just like in 2019, but we have already included election observers and also organizations that deal with digital literacy as general, and also many other organizations are already joining us. So, and the approach is going to be much complex, because at that time we only focus on debunking. So meaning that when we found misinformations and then we make clarifications and then we spread these clarifications, and we know that it didn't work well. I mean that, of course, it is very, very important, but what we saw, misinformation is always lag behind to those, the clarification is always behind compared to those misinformations. For example, what we found, maybe only 10 to 20% clarification spread compared to those misinformations. So that's why we think that the way that we approach to combat misinformation should be different, so that we now learning on how to use the concept of pre-banking. So there is a debunking, combating misinformations after the misinformations arrive, but the pre-banking is preventing those misinformation spread, or in the other words, is fighting the misinformations before the misinformation arrives. Yeah, for example, now we are not in 2022. So using this pre-banking methods, we can predict what kind of misinformations we are going to face on 2023 or on the elections year 2024. And we can make the pre-banking content from now. So we don't need to wait the misinformation is coming, but we can create the content to fight those misinformations. And this is going to be very beneficial because debunking is, the goal of debunking is to produce fact. But the goal of pre-banking is actually to increase trust. So this is different goals. And pre-banking is being used based on inoculation theory. So basically, it's like immunizations. So people is getting get like a virus that being modified to be weakened or to be a dead virus. Yeah. So that when we see the real virus, our body will fight it. Yeah. So it also works in the term of information. Yeah. So I think a lot of research already shown us that pre-banking is very, very promising. I think the last research from Jigsaw and also Cambridge Institute show that by creating like 5 short videos, it's about 90 seconds, it helps a lot of people on how to change their attitude, change their perceptions, so that they can become more immune if they receive the real misinformation. So I think Indonesia is now very, very interested to use this pre-banking. And I think a lot of medias also now working together to create pre-banking contents. And the electoral bodies, they also already understand the importance of how to use the pre-banking. So hopefully we can see pre-banking contents being used in Indonesia at least the beginning of the next year.
Yeah, that's very interesting, this question of pre-bunking. Thanks for sharing that. And it's so important, right, to be facing forward and not just reacting, right, anticipating what's coming next. Exactly. We're starting to get some questions from the audience, so let me bring one in right now. There's a question from Giselle Curry, who's asking if you differentiate between misinformation and disinformation, and whether it's useful. And I want to kind of add an add-on to her question, because I've heard you in the past talk about the need to move beyond punitive justice, punitive ways of dealing with either misinformation and disinformation. And you speak about restorative justice. How do you essentially bring people along so that they move away from misinformation or disinformation? So if you could comment on both of these things. Do you differentiate? Is it important to differentiate? And how are the responses perhaps different for each?
Yeah, of course, the question asked by Giselle Curry is very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, how to do Mafindo different between misinformations and disinformations? Yeah, of course, if we see the definitions, misinformation is information that's false, but people that spread it, they don't know that this is wrong. But disinformation, meaning that the people that spread this false information know that this is wrong. So there is a kind of bad attitude in that. But in the term of the content that we are evaluating, sometimes it is not easy to to make sure whether this is a kind of intentionally is spreading these false informations, or actually this is misinformation. So I mean, in our websites, we never said that this is misinformation or disinformation. So we just say this is false or wrong, or maybe half false, or maybe unproven, something like that, because it is going much easier. So we don't need to understand the motive, of the people behind those informations. And about the way on how we approach and what we think about we deal about the use of like, for example, the law. We, as a democratical country, we strive to make sure that everything that we decide should be in the center between freedom of expressions and also public safety. So when we try to solve anything about disinformations, we have to make sure that anything that be dealt should not remove our freedom of expressions or making our national security compromise. So in that way, so we believe that using the law has to be the last resort. So the last resort. So we have to think that we always advocate to use what we call restorative justice. So mediation first. If mediation and then next mediation doesn't work, then it is possible that you can bring the law into this case, but not without trying to prevent them first and then try to educate first, because a lot of people that actually spread disinformation or we call hoaxes in Indonesia, they don't actually have bad intentions. A lot of them actually spreading because they thought, like, health issues, it is good for our family, it is good for our friends, because they thought that it's going to help their health, for example. But because they don't fact check them, it could put them, their family, their friends, in great danger. So I think prevention, educations, or maybe social sanction, I think is going to be, we have to prioritize that. So I think so only for bad actors that exploit those misinformations for profits, for political gains, for example, for destroying our national security. I think those are that should be dealt by the law. So that's our position.
I think this leads to the question of the role of policy and also industry norms in all of this, right? Because after all, if hoaxes spread so rapidly, very often it's because of what the algorithms prioritize on social media platforms, right? Which is amplifying whatever is viral, which often means amplifying highly emotional content, things that people have high emotional responses to. What solutions do you see there? Do you see a new type of policy that is needed? Is it something that Mafindo and your coalitions are working on?
Yes, you are right there. I mean, before the social media tech, I think there already been misinformation, disinformation, or we call hoax. But the impact, the spread is not as fast, as at the moment when we, especially Indonesian people, which are very fond of social media technologies. So I think it is a very good way to make a balance on how those social media platforms also must be much more responsible, especially now when we see people are joining emerging platforms like short video platforms, and also platforms that deliver content very easily, but quite hard to fact check. In the past, mostly we deal only with text disinformations, and then we see more about picture or photos disinformations. But quite a few years, I think we start beginning the rise of misinformation that in the form of videos that is very difficult, yeah, for us. So at the moment, we are advocating, we are talking with a lot of different groups. Even actually today, we just speak also with TikTok. So today I'm in Bali. We had a Google Trusted Media Summit. So several platforms here. So what we do is actually to make sure that our voice to platform is also to be heard. That we need to make sure that platform should can have more activities to understand the local context of Indonesians, so that they will respond if any misinformations in their platforms, but also should not be also over-regulated, meaning that if there is a kind of information that actually true, but being reported by people that don't like, because a kind of a cyber army things going on in Indonesia, they should strive to the standard communities, not by the pressure of the reports. Yeah. So I think we are still finding the balance, and the discussions and also communication is on the way. So I think we are still having a quite a productive communications with them.
That's great to hear, Aji. I know that we're nearing the end of our conversation, but I just want to get maybe a couple more questions in that have come in from the audience. One question for you is, you mentioned the importance of restoring trust, right? This is ultimately what this is all about. It's about building community immunity, right, to misinformation. You've talked about the large community of volunteers that you have, that is kind of the communities on the ground that are ensuring that misinformation is addressed. One of the elements that I think is striking is that you focused in on the role of elders, which is a group of people that are very often, I think, ignored at best when it comes to this. And so I'd love to hear about the role that the elders play and why you are focusing so much energy with them.
Yes, Hanai. So this year we start a program called Tular Nalar Elderly. So Tular Nalar basically is how to spread our critical thinking. So the past year we worked with the academics, with the students in the high school and also in university. But now we start working with elderly, because we think not a lot of organizations, even though government, they don't actually have a kind of a digital class, yeah, how to make elderly have access, yeah, to digital curriculum. So I think just before we have a kind of activities with elderly, we have like a wrong stigma to the elderly. So sometimes we thought that elderly like a burden, yeah, because some grandchildren say that to their grandpa, "Hey, please, grandpa, you don't need to use your handphone. Just stay away, because a lot of misinformation is going to you. You are going to be victim of something like that." Yeah. So I think we have to rectify our paradigm on how to see our elderly, because we see that they are actually very important digital assets. Because elderly, some of them, or maybe many of them, they use digital gadgets very often. They spend many hours on digital space, like watching YouTube and chatting in the chatbot, and they are very persistent. If we can influence them, we can make them understand about how, for example, fact check informations, how to make sure that they don't be fooled by those misinformations. They're very important agent. So in Mafindo this year, we are now spreading this kind of activities to all provinces in Indonesia. Hopefully that we can reach quite 10,000 of them this year. And not only as a listener only or audience only, but we would like to transform them into digital agents, because many of them are imams in the mosque. some of them are pastors in the church. Some of them also activists in the environment, activists in the art. Their voice is very, very influential to other people. So if we can make them digital speakers, or we say digital literacy ambassadors, I think it is going to be a game changing on how we try to improve our information ecosystem during or before 2024 election.
Haji, I think this is a beautiful note to end on, the role that we can all play in all stages of our lives. Great reminder of that. So thank you for a beautiful conversation. For those who have managed to stay with us over the half hour, thank you as well. And look out for a follow-up email with a link to today's recording, some highlights as well that you can browse and share. We hope you'll join next time. Welcome Change is a weekly series about the future we want to live in and the role we can all play. So coming up next, we'll be speaking with Ashoka Fellow Kai Pacha from Argentina, who'll share some lessons about the importance of connecting with wildlife. So you can sign up with the links that were shared in the chat. And have good days, everyone, and see you soon. Thanks again, Aji. Bye.
Thank you, Hanai.